teams are really focused on the product and customer experience. For us, this is key. This is the most important part in the company. In fact, I went to our headquarters the past 2 weeks. I'm just back from China. And one of the things I loved to see there was the fact that between every aisle of desks, so where our people were working, we have 200 colleagues in one office in Shenzhen. In every line of the desks, there were at least 2 printers, and all our colleagues, whether they are technical or, for example, legal, so even the legal people, need to do at least 1 print a week to understand the product they are working on, to understand the company, to understand the customers. For us, this is key, and I think the gentlemen you can see on the pictures, they are the ones making this possible because they are really product-driven, which translates into a very nice product for the end user, I think. As mentioned, we are building an ecosystem. It is not about the printer only. Of course, the printer is a very important part of that ecosystem, but we go farther. The slicer, we are doing a lot of work on the slicer to make it as easy and as good as possible. We are working with, we started Maker World a while ago, which is a system in its own, meaning people can share their models, but it also gives the option to users to print with 1 click. Using your mobile phone, you have the option to select a file, a design, and you can say, okay, I want to send this one to my printer. For me, this was a very big step which we achieved here, because I always said, I want, what I see in the future is the fact that my father, who is 79 years old, would be able to do a print, a 3D print, without having the technical know-how how to do it. And things like Maker World make it possible to do this. So we are able to serve a complete new audience by doing this. Another step is Maker Lab, where we make it possible to create your own designs in a low-key method, so it is easy to create your own designs, and those designs can then again be shared on Maker World, etc. And recently we started with Maker Supply, where designers can create a design which needs certain accessories, screws, electronic parts, etc. And our goal is to make those parts available for the customer. So like you say, I want to print this phone stand, which is a design on Maker World, and in our web shop or the web shop of a reseller, you can buy the parts you need to do this. So you don't have to source your parts on Amazon, AliExpress, local hardware stores. Just with 1 click, you can get the exact parts you need, and you get the best experience out of your 3D print job. So this part was a little bit of a general introduction about Bambu Lab, so that you know where we are coming from and what our aim is. And now I want to dive into some maintenance and troubleshooting steps. Our printers are made to work, and our printers are made to work fast with a high quality, print quality. Most of the things in our printer, when something is needed, the printer will tell you, but still it is a 3D printer with moving parts, they degrade over time, and sometimes, as everything, it needs to be cleaned. Personally, I have been working in customer support for 1 year. It was the first year I was working for Bambu Lab. This is my 2nd year. Now I'm working in another role. But during that first year in customer support, I learned that many of the issues people are running into are caused by not maintaining the printer properly or understanding how important maintenance can be. So what I want to walk through a little bit are the basics about the maintenance, about cleaning, which parts you need to lubricate in the printer, and why lubrication is important. And one thing in general, I won't dive into this very deep, but I want to mention it straight ahead. Many of the issues customers are running into, and this can be both amateurs, so like hobbyist users, or professional users. Many of the issues people are running into is because the filament is not dried properly. When you are printing with PLA, generally there is no issue. PLA does not really need to be dried, or the circumstances have to be quite bad, and then it is needed. But PETG, PPU, and carbon-filled filament, for these types of filament, it is really important to dry it properly. And this means that even if you buy it, and it doesn't matter if it is our brand or any other brand, when you buy it and you take it out of the packaging, it needs to be dried already. It is not like, okay, this is a new filament, so I don't need to dry it. You always have to start with drying, because wet filament will lead to many issues, which often people think are related to the printer. So for this, I really want to say, when using other filaments than PLA, please be sure to follow the writing guide. We have designed a wiki page, a wiki system. I think page is not giving it the full credit. We've got a very extensive wiki. All the articles I'm talking about today, they are also documented in the wiki. And also for the filament drying, we have wiki pages, but also on our website, when you look at the filaments, you can see which drying requirements there are per filament type. So I wanted to highlight that because it is a very important topic, which is commonly asked and mentioned in support tickets. So the basics when it comes to maintenance. Super basic is visual inspection, but it is quite important, especially depending on the environment which you are using your printer in. For home users, often the printer is in an area where it is in your garage or your workshop, and often these places are quite tidy, so not super much dust. People take care of the location quite well. Cleaning is a bit less frequent than in professional environments. In professional environments, often the printer is part of the rest of the equipment of the machinery, and it can be in locations with a lot of grease, a lot of dust, etc. For visual inspection, check whether the printer is clean or not. For example, many people leave their print particles under the heat bed. This means that the heat bed cannot go fully down, leading to an obstruction and causing print issues. Just a small example. But also sometimes cables can get loose due to all the movement in the printer, so it is good to check from time to time to just remove the tool head cover, press all the cables to make sure they are well connected. The cables in the back of the printer and in the bottom of the printer for the heat bed, they can wear over time, so it is also good to check them, because if the teeth would wear down, you will be missing steps during the movement of one of the axes. A missing step will lead to print issues. Print issues can be lines, can be missing layers, can be layer shifting. So for this reason, it is very important to check the belts from time to time. It's not something like you have to do every 100 hours, but when you go into the thousands of printing hours, it will become more and more important. All the parts are user replaceable. So for all the parts, there are spare parts available from our resellers or our own webshop, and our wiki will guide you through the complete replacement procedure. At this moment, the most extensive replacement would be the carbon rod assembly, and for this, for an unexperienced user, you should count up to 4 hours of replacement time. This is a very big and important part of the printer, but even for that, there are replacement parts and the guides to help you with this. Then the hot end nozzle. For me, it is a combination because the nozzle is really just the tip of the hot end, of course. Also, this can wear over time, and even when you are using the hot end with only PLA, there will be a moment that it will wear down. You might not easily see this. It might be that you are using a 0.4 nozzle, and over time it will become a 0.45 or 0.5 millimeter, leading to an incorrect flow, leading to print issues. So even when you are using PLA, after a while it is good to replace that hot end. When you are using CF filaments, carbon filled filaments, it will be much faster, of course, due to the abrasiveness of the hot end. Also, what sometimes happens is that there will be a collision during printing, meaning that the hot end will touch the printed object, and due to this it can bend. And when the hot end will bend, the flow cannot be optimal, and again it will lead to print issues in the end. Because of this, it is good to sometimes check the hot end from both the front and the side angle to see if it is still straight and not bent. When you see it is bent or you doubt about it, just replace it because it will save you from a lot of agony in the end. When it comes to cleaning, dust, filament residue, debris, over time it will affect your print quality, or it can lead to damage. Damage, for example, is that your build plate is not clean enough, so the print will not adhere to the build plate. Due to this, the hot end will bump into the print, like I just mentioned, and it will bend. So this is how not keeping your printer clean can lead to damage. The picture you see here, and I hope it is well visible on the screen on your side. The picture you can see here is really a picture we made from a normal use case. So this is the texture pie sheet where you can clearly see a lot of fingerprints on it in the first layer. 5 layers later you won't see this anymore, but the issue is still there, and it will lead to print issues because at these places there is no well adherence to the build plate. So this will make your print not look good but it could also lead to the damage I just described. When it comes to the textured build plate, what is important is to regularly clean the build plate with only dishwashing soap and warm water. No IPA on textured build plates, because the IPA will only spread the fat from your hands over the complete build plate. So in fact it will decrease your adhesion instead of increase it. Other build plates, like the cool build plate, this one you can use IPA on, but still main thing is just wash it with dishwashing soap and warm water. This will clean most of the fat because dishwashing water is decreasing, so this helps the most. Another very important part to clean is the carbon rod guide. And I don't know if this works. Please let me know, Vincent, if we can watch a video, but I think I will have to share another screen then, right? Or what would be the best way to do this?
I guess yes. Perhaps
okay.
It's possible. Try it.
Let me check if I can easily do this. I think I have to do. this. Can you see a
Yes.
YouTube at this moment? Okay.
You have it on full screen and it's good.
Okay. Then let me check, because for me I cannot see it right yet, but here it is. No. For some reason I cannot touch the buttons. Sorry for this, but I will try to move here. This is weird. Okay, when I present it, I can no longer push the play button. And that's quite inconvenient, because that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Spacebar. That's spacebar?
Yeah, I tried. Is the only screen you see from me now, is it the YouTube screen, or do you also see another screen?
No, just YouTube.
Just YouTube. Let me see, I got a double indicator, but no, none of them work. Okay, that doesn't work. Let me see if I can.
Nicht so ganz. Vincent, wenn wir den Link hätten, könnten wir das auch abspielen, nur dann kann man das nicht kommentieren während des Kurses.
So, you are back now?
Sorry, this is not how I wanted this to be. My bad. Let me see if I'm in the. You can see my presentation again now, I hope.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, then I will just talk about the carbon rod cleaning. The carbon rod cleaning is a very important part of the cleaning procedure. What I wanted to say is the carbon rods are the assembly itself, but include the tool head, the print tool head. In the tool head, there are the bearings which are sliding over the carbon rod assembly. Over time, these bearings will get dirty by picking up the debris on the carbon rod. When you print PLA, it will take longer. When you will print ABS or carbon filled filaments, it will be a matter of 1 kilogram, which can already put a lot of debris on the carbon rods. To clean this, there is a very important step, and that is using IPA on these carbon rods. And I don't mean just a little spray of IPA. I mean like really making the assembly, the carbon rods, super wet with the IPA. Then you will clean those carbon rods, and you can see that there will be a lot of black residue on your towel. What you do then is you make it very wet again, and you will move your tool head over this carbon rod assembly for at least 10 times. And you will clean the rods again with a paper towel, and you will again see that it is black from the residue. This time it is no longer the residue which was on the carbon rods, but it is the residue which is in the bearings of the tool head. So what you do is you will make the carbon rods wet again with IPA, repeat the procedure, and keep doing this until there is no more black residue coming from the tool head bearings. You can even feel this in the movement of the tool head, because when you do this, when the carbon rods and the bearings are not clean, there will be resistance on the bearings. You will feel that it takes some effort to push the tool head from left to right. When they are really clean, you will feel that this resistance is less. There will never be no resistance, but it will be much less. So this is a very important part for cleaning, and it will result in better print quality. Often we see tickets, online social media posts about horizontal lines in the print with vertical extra lines which seem to be at the same pace of the belt, so like the teeth of the belt. This is often an indication of dirty tool head bearings, and cleaning will many tickets refer to in the end. People will say, I cleaned it, and we will say, clean it 10 times again, because we can see that the issue is related to that. When it comes to lubrication, there are a few parts in the printer which need lubrication to keep an easy movement. For this, it is the lead screws from the heat bed, which needs to be lubed. For me, what I do personally is first I clean them with a towel, which gets between the grooves, and then I will apply some white PTFE lube on them. For me, this works perfectly, not too much, because when you over lube, it will just attract dust and debris, and it will get stuck in your lead screws, which can lead to layer skips. But yeah, just make sure the movement will be nice and smooth. The same goes from the linear rods, the steel ones. First you clean them very well, and then you need to lube them again. Just apply a little bit of the same lube on them, and that will be enough. The reason why you lube these is because you don't want them to get any oxidation on them or stuff like that. The carbon rods, the only thing you do with them is clean them like I described before. Never apply any lube on them. They don't need it. In fact, it will damage the bearings in the end. So the carbon rods, they only need to be cleaned. They never need to be lubed. Then I want to go to some common troubleshooting and some print quality issues. But first, I had my Q&A prepared for the end of the meet. But since we are now stopping the previous topic, I don't know if there are any questions about this topic. Should there be any questions, maybe this might be a good moment for it. If not, just tell me to proceed, Vincent.
Yes. Gibt es Fragen dazu schon mal an der Stelle? Einmal in die Runde. Erstmal, ja, da vorne ist eine.
Zur Wartung der LMUU8-Lager gab es ja online schon die eine oder andere Diskussion, weil die eingeklebt sind und quasi nicht wirklich zu tauschen sind, außer als Gesamteinheit.
Okay.
Wie ist da jetzt so das generelle Vorgehen, wenn da die Probleme auftauchen?
Okay, I just translate the LMU88. 8. How is about that cleaning procedure? Because there's online some discussion about that. Do you know that? Do you see that?
I think we are referring to some idlers in the back of the printer. Am I correct? Because this is the discussion I know about. But
it's about the X-axis carriage.
X-axis carriage.
Media where some issue happened to those parts. At this moment, our team is working, and I think we put that on X last week. Our team is working on a new replacement part to solve this issue, and we will be offering two methods. Either only the part can be replaced, or a larger part of the printer can be replaced. The small part will take quite some time to replace, because it is not easy to reach. But the bigger part will be a lot less work to replace. I don't know when this will become available. I know that the weekly team is working on that manual at this moment, so I hope it will be very soon. At this moment, it is really a small percentage of printers which has been running into this issue. So we had to first learn about the issue and then work into offering the best solution for it.
Perfekt, thank you.
Welcome.
Gibt es noch andere Fragen an der Stelle?
Scheint erstmal nicht so zu sein, so no question at this point, so please.
Okay, then I will move on. Common troubleshooting print quality issues. Yeah. First of all, bad adhesion. I referred to the bad adhesion, of course, previously by saying that the bed needs to be clean. That is absolutely mandatory. You don't want to, no, you cannot believe the amount of tickets our support team is receiving due to my printer is not working well, prints are not sticking to my bed, something is really wrong with this printer, I need a new printer immediately. And then we said, okay, send some pictures, show us what is happening. And we can see a bed which has never been cleaned, which has 7 layers of glue on it. Sometimes even the previous print, the skirt and the brim are still on the build plate. Yeah, so for us, this is absolutely step one when people are talking about a bad adhesion. Another thing what quite often happens, and this is happening, for example, when people have multiple printers. You select your printer type, but you forget to select the correct build plate. In Bambu Studio, the build plate is directly connected with the Z offset, meaning that a cool plate has another Z offset than the texture plate. Like the distance between the heat bed and the nozzle is smaller with the cool plate than it is with the texture plate. So if you are using a texture plate in your slicing, but you are using the cool plate in your printer, it will lead to adhesion issues. Of course, the printer, if you are using the original Bambu Lab plates and you have all the AI options enabled, of course the printer will tell you that there is a wrong plate detected. But we learned that many users just click proceed. And yeah, then the issue starts. So when you are seeing that the bed adhesion is not correct and you are certain that your build plate is clean, please also check the settings in Bambu Studio to make sure that you are using the correct build plate in this case. It is quite basic, so I was thinking, is this masterclass worthy, yes or no? But since this issue is happening quite a lot, I thought it was good to include it here. Another very common one, filament jams, extruder issues. So you are printing, and after a while you check your printer and you see that the printer, the nozzle is printing in the air. There is no more object, it stopped at a certain point, meaning there is a clog. And the clog can happen in various parts of the filament path, but the most common parts are the extruder or the hot end. For me, when I was working on these tickets, what I always said to the customer was, because I ran into the same issue, set your hot end to 300 degrees, keep it there for a minute, and try to extract again. 300 degrees is generally enough for most of the common filaments. Of course, there are some special filaments, but probably the users who are using these kinds of filaments which go above 300 degrees, they probably are very experienced and know how to solve the issue. For the other filaments like ABS, also quite uncommon filaments but more user-friendly, when you set it to 300 degrees, it should be enough to melt any type of filament. When you have it to 300 degrees and you try to extract the filament again and it doesn't work, chances are 90% that it is related to the extruder and not to the hot end. If you are not sure about it, what you can do is you will set the hot end temperature to 0 again. You will power down the printer. You will remove the hot end from the extruder. You will power on the printer again, and you extrude filament again. When there is still no filament coming on the bottom from the extruder, you are 100% sure that the issue is located in the extruder and not in the hot end, because the hot end is no longer in the printer, so it cannot be the issue. When it comes to the extruder, the most common reason for clogging the extruder is heat creep. Heat creep is the phenomenon where the internal paper temperature is leading to a too high temperature in the extruder. For PLA, this can be 40 degrees, for example. And when you have your 3D printer in a workplace which is 20 to 23 degrees, setting your build plate to 70 degrees for the textured plane, it will get to 40 degrees for sure, the internal paper temperature. This means that inside the extruder, the temperature will also get to a 40 degrees at least, and the PLA will start to get soft. When the PLA starts to get soft and the gears will start pushing the filament down, it will just mesh the filament and it will block in the extruder. Only solution is to open the extruder, cut away the filament, and then print again. But when you start printing again, it is important that you either open the door, of course, for the filaments where this is possible, PLA, PEG, sometimes, not often, mainly PLA, or you can use risers on the top of the printer to rise the top cover. This will give a good airflow even in a warmer environment, and you will be able to print with PLA. So this is a very common one, happens a lot, and most certainly a good way to look into when you have any clogging issues. Print quality issues. When it comes to print quality issues, I just described the clogging of the hot end or the extruder. This will also lead to print quality because your print will not finish successfully. You can often hear this happening when you are near the printer, when the extruder starts to click. You know it has issues with pushing the filament through the nozzle. So this is a good time to stop the print and see what is happening. Another common issue is stringing, which can be caused by incorrect settings in your slicer. It could be the nozzle temperature, or it could be the retraction which is causing this. But another issue is what I said at the beginning of the presentation: dry the filament. If you see this happening with TPU or PEG, for example, first step is drying. Do not alter your settings. Make sure that your filament is dry. Then layer shift. The example here is slightly over-exaggerated, but it happens even in matters like this. Often this is caused by the belt tensioning, and can be solved by the belt tensioning procedure. The video I wanted to share before about the cleaning of the carbon rod, I will share the wiki link with Vincent. By the way, they already have it because they know the procedure. But in the cleaning of the carbon rod assembly, we also say to do the belt tensioning procedure. This is a very important part to make sure the belt have the correct tension and have the correct vibration compensation in the settings. Often the layer shifting is caused by incorrect belt tensioning or loose pulleys. So often see this with some delicate filaments where the lines do not adhere very well. Often this is caused by a low nozzle temperature or by the cooling fan, which is cooling down the filament too much. Some filaments don't require cooling or just require a little cooling, and always be sure to check the settings of the filament if you are using the correct settings. For some filaments also it is absolutely mandatory to use an enclosed printer, just to make sure that the print will not be cooled down by influences from outside. So always when you are working with a new filament, make sure that you are using the correct printer and the correct settings. When it comes to a clock, this is a very clear example of printing in the air, where you know that somewhere in the filament path there has been an issue. Then the last part of my presentation is about some calibration and general advices, general tips. I will just walk through them, and after this there should be some room for extra questions if there are any. Bed level calibration. Before every printer will be a small bed level calibration, so the printer will look into this. But in the menu you can do a full calibration, and when you do the full calibration it will be much more extensive than the short calibration. Better mapping of the bed surface is in the end what helps here the most, which is the best result, because your printer will know how to compensate for any unlevel parts in the bed. LiDAR calibration, resonance calibration, actually all these types of calibration, I highly recommend them to do it after you have done anything on your printer. Meaning, did you clean the carbon rod assembly? Did you do the bed level, the belt tensioning procedure? Did you install new firmware? Always do a full calibration afterwards, because settings have been changed, so compensations also need to be changed. If your carbon rod assembly was dirty and the bearings were dirty, you need to do this calibration again to make sure that your printer is compensating everything in the correct way. If we gave a firmware update, do the compensation again, because the calibration again, because settings could have been changed in the firmware update, and you want to make sure that again the compensation of the printer is working correct. Manual bed ramming. Sometimes it can happen that however your print bed net got in contact with something. It could be a printed part under your print bed because it was tipped off during printing, the printer continued printing and it was squishing the printer under it. An accident could have happened by touching the bed, anything can happen. So other than the normal bed calibration, sometimes it is also good to look into the manual bed ramming with the little screws under the bed to solve any issues there. Meaning that if the calibration of the bed cannot solve it, try to solve it with the manual bed ramming. If your prints are not adhering, if you can see that the parts you are putting together do not fit tight, then often manual bed ramming can solve this for you. When it comes to general tips, a big general tip would be to create your own maintenance checklist, especially when the printer is used by multiple people, because you don't know when what has been done. So just keep a simple list. When was the last time that the bed was cleaned? When was the last time that we lubricated anything? When was the last time we replaced some hot ends, nozzles, etc.? This will help you in the end. When it comes to the automated messages of our printer, because it will tell you when you need to lubricate anything, for example, the Z lead screws. The first time that the printer will tell you this is based on a time interval. The time interval is really simple, production time versus use time. Meaning that if you receive the printer and there has been a lot of time between production and you setting the printer up, it is possible that it will tell you to clean the lead screws. Of course, you don't have to do it at that time, you can just say, I did it. After this, resetting the counter, it will no longer be a time interval only, but it will be based on time and amount of filament used and type of filament used. So the printer knows it has been printing 1 kilometer, for example, of PLA, and it has to say, okay, you need to clean the lead screws. But would you be printing 500 meters, again, for example, of any carbon filled filament, it also will know that the pollution will be much more, and you already need to lubricate and clean. So it is quite comprehensive in the software how we check this and give the advice. So that regarding the maintenance checklist. Regarding replacement parts, as I mentioned, they will wear out after time, so it is good for you to realize how much printing hours have we been doing, which type of filaments, and to have a general feeling about, okay, which parts do I need to replace, and having those spare parts on hand can, of course, save you a lot of downtime. I always like to have at least 2 hot ends spare and 2 complete hot end assemblies, for example. Hot ends, for the moment I have some more time to replace them. The complete hot end assembly, if I need to stop a print, change the assembly and continue again, because I don't want to lose any time. Then another quite important one is the silica gel in the AMS. The AMS comes with silica gel in it. This needs to be replaced after a while. And it is hard for us to tell you when this will be needed. Of course, we have the indication in the software from the 1 to 5 water drop, where 5 is really a high moisture level. But still, we cannot tell you when this will happen, because it will depend on all external influences. How much moisture is there in the air in the room you are using, etc., etc. But it is very important to keep track of this. We had quite some support tickets where people did not replace the silica. But the thing with silica is it keeps gathering moisture out of the air. And when it can no longer adhere this moisture, it will just become wet in your AMS. The water will go through the board and it will be causing a short circuit in your AMS board. So please check this periodically. Don't think that the water drop feature in the software is just a feature. It is really important to make sure no moisture is getting into the AMS, and this is why the silica is important. Again, your filament can also be very wet, which gives the moisture in the air of the AMS. It is not only outside there. Okay, I think I had all my general tips, my maintenance plans, etc. Are there any questions from your side I can help with?
Genau, nochmal in die Runde. Gibt es Fragen, Themen zum Thema Maintenance, zum Thema an Bambu Lab direkt? Harm, unser Ansprechpartner vom Bambu Lab in Europa. Habt ihr Themen dazu generell zum Thema Bambu Lab, vielleicht auch gerade zu diesem Vortrag hier in der Runde? Scheint gerade nicht so zu sein, Harm. Danke dafür erstmal. Genau, erstmal thank you, Harm, for everything, for your speech. And dann begrüßen wir gleich den nächsten Gast. Thank you, Harm.
Bye bye.
Most welcome. Have fun today. Bye bye.